Hello. Thank you for tuning in today. For those of y'all who don't know me, my name is Ray, and today I'm finally setting out on something that has been on my heart and on my mind for over a year now. And I'm finally leaning into it in a way that I'm not forcing an expectation on myself or what I want this to be. My goal with this series, in whatever format you're listening to this on, because I do plan to put this on multiple platforms. So my goal with this series is to collaborate, to communicate, and to open up the dialogue for evolution, really. Throughout my life, I've gone through multiple different stages and changes, a lot of which were internal and came from within. And throughout a lot of these changes, I learned a lot of different things about myself, but I've also learned a lot of different things about the way the world works and how important it is to have conversation that allows us to see ourselves outside of ourselves, especially when it comes to things like religion and philosophy, ideologies, principalities, stuff like that. I would like to enter this new chapter simply by being very open about my own progress and my own discovery on my journey, in the hopes that by me letting y'all in, we can evolve and start a revolution. I feel like as a creative in any medium, whether that's digital, physical, we're all kind of posed with our own sense of reality, and we have to cater our experience in a way that makes it digestible and beautiful. And a lot of times it's neither of those two things, but we have a way of molding it to fit into that box. Sometimes it's painful. What I have learned through pain, though, is that there are way too many ways to experience this lifetime, and the less you allow yourself to experience things that you have not before, or the less you allow yourself to feel what you need to feel to get through things, the harder this thing gets, right? When you're open to different realities and different possibilities, doors open up. It's kind of like what people say, like, when one door closes, another opens. But you also wouldn't know that there are other doors opening if you're stuck trying to go through this one door that you're not having any success with. For me, this podcast, this series, and what I'm venturing into in this next chapter of my life is me going through those open doors and not regretting what I find on the other side, regardless of whether I feel like it fits into my life or works into the narrative I'm trying to write for my story and things like that. I'm just open to the experience and seeing what happens. So, with that being said, there's two things I'd like to do in today's episode, especially with this being the first one. I have two of my composition notebooks here. I use these to journal, take notes, and give myself work, like assignments and things to do. And recently, I've been undergoing some mentorship, and my mentor gave me an assignment recently that I'd love to share with y'all. And pick your brains about it, maybe get you guys thinking about what that looks like and how it can apply to your life, because I've applied it to my life and it's given me clarity and more direction on where I'm trying to go and how to get there, things of that nature. So we talked about multiple things. We talked about core values when it comes to like careers and relationships, health, priorities, and learning how to discern between an opportunity and distractions. And we talked about the importance of different values and what drives those values and how those values impact your decisions. Because based on what you value and what you place important in your life and what you place as priority, those will drive all the other things that you do and pursue. Because everything has a purpose. Everything that we do is intentional. Even the stuff that we're subconsciously doing, it's programmed in there for something that we're consciously thinking about, right? So when I look at some of my own values and what I consider to be important to me and what I look for in any opportunity that I do take, and again, these have significant impact on what decisions I make, right? So at the top of my list, and I wrote about 15 of them, I would say write about 10 to 15 words that you feel like are important whenever you're making a decision about something. It has to have this aspect or this quality of something in order for you to consider it. For me, I wrote sustainability, growth, structure, respect, creativity, and clarity. Now, these 6 things are what you consider your core values. They're going to be like your drivers. Those are the things that, if they're not present in any decision you make, you're probably not doing it, because it's not going to benefit you short term or long term, especially not long term. Sometimes we can make decisions short term that don't have these things because it's a means to an end. It's gonna open a door for us to be able to structure these things later on. But oftentimes, if it doesn't have this at all, it's probably not something that you should actually focus on. It's probably more of a distraction than an opportunity, right? But being able to discern the difference allows you to know, like, okay, this thing that I'm looking at, it's not necessarily an opportunity, but I can make it an opportunity if I go into it with these intentions, or if I set this kind of boundary or guideline while I'm interacting with it or engaging with it, and knowing that the only reason I'm engaging with it is to create opportunity. But that's another thing that we're really good at, is creating opportunity just by setting intentions and being purposeful about how we're going about doing things. And that's just the story of anybody who's ever done anything and had to make a way when there wasn't already one set out for them. You have to be very intentional about the things you're doing. Otherwise, you're walking aimlessly. You're kind of leading yourself blind, you know what I mean? So, with that being said, with those core values in mind, and like I said, those values impact your decision making, it's important to know who you are and how those values apply to your life. And there are multiple different aspects of who we are as people. There are layers, kind of like an onion. When you start peeling them back, you realize they do make up who you are in different ways. The 4 primary ways that we're separated when it comes to who we are as beings are spiritually, mentally, physically, and emotionally, right? So when we say, who are you? And, ask the question of what motivates you and what drives you, or just getting to know yourself in that way, it's important to be able to sit down and either write this stuff out or have like a cheat sheet. It's almost like having an avatar. Like if this is a game, which I can't wait to get into some of that later, because I think that this whole thing is a video game, because that's a huge part of my own personal life. I play a lot of video games, and so I look at life as a video game, because it is, man. This is like real life GTA. This is GTA 6 before GTA 6, okay? So if this is a video game and this is your avatar, this is your created character, you get to customize them and do whatever you want with the character, because we just control it. We're the spirit that's in us. Our soul is the controller, and this is just the physical character, right? That character is made up of different aspects. So I think it's important to be able to look at those aspects, either written down or just to have a mental note of who you are on those different levels and be able to like base your decisions off of that knowing. Because when you know who you are, you know what that person does allow and doesn't allow. And you also have a very clear sense of what aligns with who you are and what doesn't. Like I said, that'll be the difference between opportunity and distraction. So on this next page here, I've written out who I am in those ways. We've got spiritually, mentally, physically, and emotionally. And then I also have more notes on my iPad here. But basically, like, my definition or my best way to describe my own relationship with myself in that regard. So looking at this, I can tell you guys a little bit about who I am, especially for those of y'all who don't know me, but also to be able to look back as a reflection, as a mirror. This is a lot more than just like a podcast to me, or me just getting on here to yap and talk to myself. I genuinely want this to be a love child. This, to me, is a extension of who I am in a way that's very vulnerable. I've grown up most of my life not talking a lot, and so to get in front of a camera and just talk, just to talk, and not even necessarily have any aim or goal with my talking, but genuinely just to be able to express thought and to be able to have communication with people, it's a lot. But my goal with this platform is, like I said, collaboration. I feel like as a whole, as a collective, in order for us to move the needle forward, we need more of everything that involves close-knit interaction between other minds. Because I think the collective consciousness is a hive mind. So the more that we connect, the greater we can be together to move the ball forward and actually make change. So when it comes to how this platform is going to be structured, I have a lot of different ideas that I'm super excited to start rolling out and showing y'all. And one of the most important ones is that I want to do and like I said, I'll go into more detail as we kind of structure this thing out and flesh it out more. But I would love to turn this into like a space where I can invite guests on and do like an interview or just ask them questions and pertaining to their creative process and how they interact with this game world that we're in. So with that being said, the name of this podcast is going to be Revisions, because I believe that we all have a vision. It's given to us, or we find it, or we look deep within and understand what we're here to do, regardless of race, religion, background, sexual orientation, any of that stuff. I believe that deep down we all have a purpose, we all have a vision. And once you know what that vision is, all you have to be able to do is revise it, tweak it, and fine-tune it to your life, so that way you can realize and actualize that vision and make a huge difference in the trajectory of this experience for everybody, not just for yourself, because the highest level of experience is enlightenment, especially when it's passed on to other people. So I can't wait to open the doors for that and have all kinds of different people on here from all different walks of life, and just be able to open up people's minds and eyes to everything that exists out here beyond what we know so far, especially when it comes to social media and this digital age of technology. There's so much stuff that gets lost in translation, and I just want to kind of slow it down a little bit and tune in to some of that stuff that's really important, especially with the state of the world right now and all this political shit going on. It's a lot out there, but my goal really is to focus on the light as opposed to the darkness. And even when we talk about darkness and what's going on in the world, I really want to transmute that into something different. Because hate only breeds more hate, violence only begets more violence. And even though there's a time for both of those things, we live in a world with way too much of it currently. So yeah, with all that being said, I'm just going to detail who I am in these 4 categories, so that way y'all can kind of get an understanding of what it looks like to do that. And then you can, sit down and maybe write this stuff out for yourself. I would say that would be a good exercise to take from this video, from this episode, I should say. And feel free to engage with this in whatever way you like, whether that's commenting or sharing or, just having conversation about it. Because that's the whole purpose of this, is to start a conversation. So yeah, I'll just kind of go through what I've written down. So spiritually, I am open, aware, and in tune with the higher power that operates through me. I understand the importance of faith, alignment, and intentionality in how I move throughout the world. I recognize that life exists on layers beyond the physical, and the clarity comes from honoring both the seen and the unseen. I believe that we are all connected to a greater source, and that my growth depends on maintaining a respectful, consistent relationship with that source. Meaning that the life that I'm structuring for myself is based on a lot of things. And one of those things is sustainability and seeking structure and clarity in what I'm doing and the direction I'm heading in. Because I want my work to be a reflection of that. I don't want to be involved in things that contradict with what deep down I know is in line with my purpose, right? I want to be guided by the values that push me forward, like curiosity, growth, creativity, and knowing that when I'm doing that, I'm moving with integrity and I'm on the right path. My intuition is leading me down the path that I'm supposed to be on, with momentum too. Because as you take steps day by day to keep going on that right track, when you're building that discipline and that consistency in those areas that are gonna slingshot you forward, you realize that, okay, the longer I stay in touch with who I am, the closer I get to opportunities that are meant for me. See what I'm saying? That's the difference between the opportunity and the distraction thing, right? So spiritually, that's where I'm at. Mentally, and this is probably where I have the most fun writing, because all I do is think. All I do is sit around and talk to myself out loud or in my head. And even though I'm not super verbal and vocal, that's all I do. It's just to think and talk in my head. So really, this series is just gonna be a way for me to get a lot of these thoughts out of my head and off paper and out of my notes and out into the world where they can actually do some good. So mentally, my mind is a playground for divine curiosity, creativity, growth, and I spend a lot of time reading, generating ideas, questions, having ideas and visions about the future and things that I can be doing to make change. And so I try to take responsibility for shaping what's been given to me and the ideas that I have. I got this idea for this podcast at least a year ago, and it's taken a long time for me to commit to it and just really decide that, okay, this is something that I feel called to do, and I'm gonna trust that me doing it isn't a betrayal of myself, of my mind, of what I know to be for me, right? And a lot of times we talk ourselves out of what's meant for us because we feel that's not who we are, as if we're not supposed to be growing and constantly changing and evolving. So even when I talk about growth and wanting to change, that's a huge part of it, is doing things that I probably would not have done just because I didn't feel like it aligned with who I am. But that's because it's not aligning with who I am, it's aligning with who I'm becoming. And when you learn the difference between who you are and who you're becoming, and the changes and the growth that you're going to undergo to reach that next level, you realize a lot of things have to go. You have to shed parts of yourself that you thought were very vital and important to who you are. That's why a lot of people talk about things like having an ego death, or just shedding layers of themselves that they felt were very important, but were only really superficial to begin with. And yeah, I mean, I understand like the importance of like your mental health and just having clarity about what you're doing, because I feel like a lot of us, once we do realize what we want to do and the direction we head in, we try to go 100 miles an hour. And that leads pretty quickly to burnout and disorder, and it ends up turning into dis-ease in the body, and you get sick. And I think it's very important to take care of your mental health just as much as your physical health, which we're about to get into when we talk about physical as well. But when you commit to like learning, evolving, and unlearning negative thought patterns, because that is a huge part of like anybody's experience. We are all raised and conditioned with some level of closed-mindedness, whether that's from our family, our upbringing, religiously, our political background, geography, where we're based, all that kind of stuff. And when you get older, you realize some of that stuff wasn't always spot on, and you have to start unlearning some of that, which can be hard, especially if you're in a space where you're not really given the freedom to pursue those kind of liberties and learn different ways of thinking and ideologies that suit you better or are more beneficial to your overall growth. But I feel like that's where all the brilliance actually comes in, is when you're able to actually make the decision to choose something that you feel aligns with you more. It allows your light to shine way better, right? Because you're stepping into yourself more, and you're becoming something new. Yeah, so with that being said, I respect myself enough, and I feel like everybody should respect themselves enough to challenge limiting beliefs that we think are serving us, but actually don't hold as much value as they should in our minds. You start making systems and building up different channels that allow you to just hone in on what it is that you're doing and pursuing. Momentum starts building. When you're consistent with it, growth starts to show up in all kinds of different ways. And you begin to lean into discomfort. A lot of people don't realize the power of being uncomfortable. When you're uncomfortable, you're forced to do things that you may not want to do. And beyond not wanting to do them, there are things that are going to push you. But once you get to the other side of those things that you probably didn't think you could do, you realize not only were you capable of it, but you showed yourself that it really wasn't even that hard. Like, I feel like the hardest part of anything is just starting. For instance, this podcast, man, the amount of times that I sat down and tried to do this, I filmed the whole episode already and found out that it didn't even record it. Like, I didn't get no audio or nothing. Like, a lot of times we face challenges that deter us from actually doing what we want to do, just because there's always a barrier to entry. You got to pay to play, you know? A lot of times we don't realize that once you get over those first couple hurdles, it gets easier. The hardest part is starting. 9 times out of 10, the hardest part is starting. And the longer you sit in one spot because you're too afraid to start, the longer you're delaying your inevitable growth and the progress that you could make. I have a quote on my vision board that says, if you're worried about the cost of starting something or the cost of doing something, just wait till you see the cost of doing nothing. And like, it's always there's a trade-off to be made whenever you're making a decision. As long as it aligns with who you're trying to be, do it every time. Every time. Because the cost of not doing it is way, way worse. It's going to keep you in that same place even longer. That place you want to be free from so bad, that you're struggling and clawing at getting away from. The sooner you just do that thing, just take that leap of faith, the faster you'll get there. And I'm saying this for myself too. So that way when I watch this video back, even in editing, like I push myself to keep doing this, because the longer I run from taking on a challenge like this, the longer I delay my own growth. So please guys, just do it. Whatever it is, just do it. Just try it. Even if you don't like it, it doesn't work out, at least you know that now. You're much better off getting to that point and saying, this doesn't work for me, than never trying it and never knowing. You don't want to go down that road of regret. It's never led anybody anywhere good, for sure. So, yeah, I know I went on a tangent there, but let's pivot to physically who I am, to give y'all an idea of who you are. Living as a black man in America, there's a lot of different ways that my physical appearance has changed my relationship with the world. There's a lot that I don't have control over in that regard. But what I do have control over, I take a lot of pride and power and responsibility to do that. So I'll read what I wrote, and then I'll kind of break that down some. My body is the foundation that supports everything else I want to build. I value sustainability, structure, and consistency in how I care for myself. Discipline, determination, and being intentional about my physical health are paramount, because I understand that my energy, clarity, and creativity depend on it, right? Oftentimes we hear phrases like health is wealth, and ultimately it is. We are physical beings in a physical world, despite all the different layers that there are to peel back. But without this physical form, you can't do much. And it's very important to take care of your body, because it's a temple. It's where your soul resides. It's where your ideas are formed. It's where your visions come. And it's where the physical manifestation of all the things that you're working on and trying to do come into being. We're able to create so many things with this physical vessel. Everything that I'm looking at and everything that's around me has been created by somebody. But you can't do that without taking care of your own physical form. We're all just matter. And we're all light energy, light particles. And when that light's not shining, you're not able to do much, right? So back to me being black in America. I have to move around with a lot of awareness. And with that awareness, it's real easy to get spiteful. The kind of struggles that my people and people all across the world have suffered just because of the color of their skin. Unfathomable. It's truly one of the world's darkest evils that to this day doesn't make much sense. But that's not what we're here for. I try my best to live with respect for myself and others. And learning to be compassionate and resilient are two things that have gotten me very far. Because it's very easy to live without those things and to be swallowed up by the void. Like I said earlier, hate only begets more hate, and violence only leads to more violence. There's no right side, but there's a whole lot of wrong. And if we're ever gonna get to a point where we can actually treat each other as equals, it's going to take a lot of work, a lot of unlearning, And it all starts with taking care of your physical and realizing that we're all the same. We all bleed the same. We all think the same. None of us exist without these 4 areas. We're all the same in that way. So, my hope is just to take care of this physical form and use it as a generator and a manifester of the visions that are given to me by a higher power so that I can leave a positive impact on the world. Because ultimately, that's all that really matters. When all this is said and done, if we're not able to actually look back at our lives and see what we've impacted positively, like I said, you end up going down that road of regret. And most people don't return, So, yeah, I just want to live a life that is consistent in showing up in every aspect. Work, family, friends, relationships, creativity, just in general, So yeah, let's pivot into this last section. I don't want this first episode to be too long. This is just supposed to be the intro. It's like the pilot episode. Based on how this pilot is received, we're gonna see how the rest of the season go. But emotionally, now this one right here, I had to contain myself to keep myself from writing too much. This area is where I could have had like a therapy session talking about where I am emotionally. But I'll keep it brief and just read what I have here. I am deeply feeling, intuitive, and emotionally aware. I experience life with intensity, curiosity, and sensitivity. I've learned to treat my emotional world with the same respect and structure I apply to my external world. I no longer suppress my emotions in the name of strength. Instead, I choose clarity, sustainability, and consistency in how I process and express them. I seek environments and relationships rooted in respect, collaboration, and honesty. I value emotional safety, momentum, and stability, while taking responsibility for healing patterns that no longer align with who I am becoming. I allow myself to feel my emotions fully while also building structure around them so they guide me rather than derail me. Okay? So, and this kind of piggybacks off my physical. When it comes to being a black man in this world, it really, I can't stress this enough. It's really important to be in tune with your emotional world. Because, to put it simply, we're getting rage baited, man. This world is real quick to rage bait you. Being in tune with your emotions and being able to understand what you're feeling and put a finger on it, that's why I journal. Being able to put a finger on what it is you're feeling and know what that is, and then be able to sit with that and process it and use that energy positively is paramount. You have to be able to do that in this day and age. Like, that's why you see people crashing out, because they're experiencing so much that they don't know how to regulate. Even though sometimes it's valid to crash out, you're gonna have to crash every now and then to let these folks know you're not playing. But at the same time, it's so important that we take time to sit down with our emotions. It goes hand in hand with being mentally in tune. You cannot use your emotions as a crutch. They are your greatest strength. They're your greatest strength. To be able to feel something and know exactly what that is and channel that is one of your greatest strengths. You can channel anger, fear. You can channel joy, grief, happiness, all of them. Every emotion that you can feel can be used. It's a frequency. It's like a radio station. You tune into it, and then you change to a different station when the circumstances change. But knowing that you have power over them and they don't have power over you makes all the difference in the world. All the difference in the world. So for me, I spent most of my life suppressing my emotions. And I feel like that's very common in the Black community. We're kind of forced to, especially as a man. You grow up around men. Men not supposed to do that. Men not supposed to show their emotions. Supposed to be tough. Supposed to be resilient. Supposed to be strong. And when you start showing how you feel and being emotional and being vulnerable, you're thought of as less than, as weak. When in reality, the sign of a strong man is a man who's able to do those things and then still get his ass up and go handle his business. He may get up in the morning, be stressed out, tired, worn out, got nothing left in the tank. He might cry. He gonna wipe them tears off and realize, I'm feeling this, I needed to feel that. That was important, I needed that. I needed to release that. And now I can take that energy and go apply it where I need to apply it. And go make the change that needs to be made so I don't have to keep feeling like that. And that's why they tell us we need to go to therapy, man. So that we can get permission to do those things without feeling like we're not doing enough. We're constantly being told what we're doing and not doing, where we're falling short. And that's not just as men or as a Black person, that's humans. We're always getting told where we fall short, where we're not meeting up to somebody else's standard, or what we see online, or what this other person is doing, and how so-and-so handled it, and how people before us used to handle their grief and their problems. It's not going to work for everybody. We all got our own systems and ways of navigating through this life. So, before I leave y'all, I want to revisit again my goal for this podcast. I'm gonna write my tag. I'm gonna read y'all my tagline because I got a whole note of all of the things that I'm doing with the podcast, right? And hopefully, we'll see a lot of these things start to factor themselves into the format of this podcast as we get more structure for it. But I'll leave y'all with this tagline and a couple more ideas that I really do want to dive into this year. Again, just for me to remind myself of my goal in doing this. With the Revisions podcast, we are here to rewrite life cycles, refine who we are, and reimagine the journey, one conversation at a time. My goal with this podcast, amongst other things, like I said, is to open up a format for collaboration. I care very deeply about my community, my immediate community, and my international community. And I don't like not being in touch with them in the ways that I know I could be that would actually create change, you know? I think it's extremely important as human beings that we work together. We were never meant to be on this earth doing it by ourselves. That's why so many people fall into all kinds of different things, just because they're all alone. Depression, sickness, addiction, you name it. Like, we all need each other in some way, shape, or form. And so, I want to be transparent about that desire for connection. And I want to do that in a way that's beneficial to everybody involved. So with that being said, and with other things still on the forefront of my mind, because I read a lot, man. Like, I spend a lot of time reading. All of these books right here, these are just some of what I've been looking through, and it's on my vision board to read like 24 books this year. I want to be in a book club, so I may even do that through the podcast. Like, if y'all trying to start a book club where we have a read that we go through every month, I would love that. Because I'm sitting here looking for a book club. I realized I could just start my own, which I just might do. But yeah, with that being said, y'all, damn, it feels good to actually have done this. I'm proud of myself, and I'm proud of y'all for doing the hard work and actually pursuing those things that you want to do. To all of my friends and family that are already out here doing all of them things that they've dreamed of doing. I got so many friends that do some of the coolest shit, man. Like, my homeboys got multiple clothing brands that are successful. Homegirls got clothing brands and shit that's successful. Shout out Hands of Joy, Rich Studios. Like, I love my community, man. We are some of the most creative and talented people on the planet, and I wanna build that world more. Like, I wanna just connect all these dots and make it a huge bubble of just everybody winning. I wanna see everybody win in every stage of their journey, whatever that journey looks like, because we're not all gonna have the same journey. It's all gonna look different for every single one of us. But the more that we can see ourselves in each other, the more we see ourselves, and the easier it's gonna be for us to find the things that align with who we are. So, I'm gonna go ahead and end this, man. Like I said, I didn't want this first thing to be too long, because I don't want to sit here and make these 2-hour episodes every single time, unless y'all into that. Long form content is its own beast, its own animal, but I want these to be digestible in a way that y'all can actually get something from it and then go about your day so you can apply it, right? I appreciate any single person who sat down and listened to this whole thing, watched this whole thing, or whatever format. I'm still figuring out how to format this. I definitely want this to be on multiple platforms. I want to do YouTube, Spotify, all the audio, you know what I'm saying, all the audio outlets, but I want this to be visual as well, hence the recording. So yeah, we'll build the structure. We'll flesh this thing out some more as time goes on. I'm excited for what this year is gonna hold. I wanted to make sure I got this out by like the end of January, or within the first couple months of the year. And this shit has been on my heart and on my mind heavy. It's been stressing me out that I'm not doing it. So yeah, we're finally here, man. So to future Ray and to future y'all, I'm proud of you. Keep going, keep exploring, keep learning, keep discovering, and keep reinventing yourself. Keep revising who you want to be. Keep rediscovering what you're here for. Because it's going to keep changing. You just got to be willing to keep doing the work. Yeah. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. And like I said, if you resonated with anything in this video, please feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe, interact in whatever way feels good to you. And we will rendezvous soon.